is Anna Tenbenzel. Welcome back to my channel. This would have been day 29 of the July LeetCode or the JuleetCode challenge. I did all of these solutions in Python, so this question, number 808, which would have been day 29, is done in Python. So my submission for this was, in fact, over 50% on both. Skating on by a little bit. This was a lot better, but in the last few videos, if you've seen the last couple of days, I did not do as well as I wanted to and kind of was all over the place. So that was me kind of trying to bring it in a little bit. So question number 808 is soup servings. So there are two types of soup, type A and type B. Initially, we have n milliliters of each type of soup. There are 4 kinds of operations. Serve 100 milliliters of soup A and 0 milliliters of soup B. Serve 75 milliliters of soup A and 25 milliliters of soup B. Serve 50 milliliters of soup A and 50 milliliters of soup B, and serve 25 milliliters of soup A and 75 milliliters of soup B. When we serve some soup, we give it to someone, and we no longer have it. Each turn, we will choose from the 4 operations with an equal probability, 0.25. If the remaining volume of the soup is not enough to complete the operation, we will serve as much as possible. We stop once we no longer have some quantity of both types of soup. Note that we do not have an operation where all 100 milliliters of soup B are used first. Return the probability that soup A will be empty first, plus half the probability that A and B become empty at the same time. Keep the answers within 10 to the negative fifth of the actual answer to be accepted. And then they give you these 2 examples and this constraint. So let's dive into the logic of this, shall we? So I started off with this helper function named help, which takes 3 arguments, A and B, which represent the remaining amounts of soup A and soup B, and MP, which is the memoization dictionary to store previously computed results. We then break down the conditions to handle cases, the best cases of recursion. If both soups are depleted A and B, then both are non-positive, right? And the probability of finishing both servings is 0.5 because the game would end in a tie, right? So if soup A is depleted, the probability of A serving first is 1. So if soup B is depleted, the probability, again, of serving A is 0. So we then go to this area right here, which basically checks whether the pair of A and B has been computed before it's stored in the memoization dictionary MP. And if it has, the function returns the pre-computed value. So let's go into this area here. So these lines perform the recursive calls to the help function, basically simulating the different choices for serving soup A and soup B. Each recursive call kind of decrements, or it decrements the available quantities of soup A and soup B for the specific amounts. And then after those recursive calls are done, the calculated probability of serving soup A first is stored in the MP for the current A-B pair, and that value is then returned. So this area here will then check special cases where n, or the initial amount of soup, is large enough that the probability of serving soup A is guaranteed to be close to 1 due to the relatively large number of servings. So then finally, these 2 down here, the method initializes an empty MP and returns the result of the help function, starting with the initial amounts of soup A and soup B. So essentially, we did a probability calculation of soup A first in the game, or first in this like soup serving thing, or soup A and soup B, and the goal is to basically empty both soups. So this, we just use recursion and memoization to compute the probabilities efficiently. So I hope that makes sense. I know I probably could have explained that better. it just is a lot to say soup A and soup B all the time. But again, this is my solution, and this is what the solution looked like for runtime and for memory, over 50 on both. So I feel pretty good about that. But I will leave the GitHub repo link in the video description down below. You guys are more than welcome to fork and clone, make it better, make it worse. Do whatever you want. Just have some fun and learn something. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.